Fiona Flamingo by Rachael Urrutia Chu, illustrated by Kate Jeffrey. On a beautiful sunny afternoon where life was simply the best, a little flamingo named Fiona hatched from an egg in a nest. Little Fiona grew up making lots of friends. They played flamingo games from day's start to day's end. As the time passed, the birds all became stronger. They also got pinker, and their feathers grew longer. They turned pinker and pinker with each feather they grew. They got bigger and bigger until some of them flew. Fiona remained featherless until it happened one night. She woke up with feathers, but they were all bright white. The other flamingos gasped and stared at her in shock. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. They wildly began to squawk. Her friends looked at the white feathers, not knowing what to think. "You're not the right color. Flamingos are supposed to be pink." With everyone shouting, Fiona began to get scared. She looked at her feathers, and then she looked at theirs. "You don't have to be so loud, and please don't make a scene." That's when Fiona started shaking, and her feathers turned to green. When her friends saw the change, they squawked louder and meaner. Fiona got more anxious, and her feathers grew greener. Her friends looked at the green feathers, not knowing what to think. "Stop being so silly, Fiona. Flamingos are supposed to be pink." "Oh no," said Fiona, "this is worse than just bad." But her friends kept on squawking, and then Fiona got mad. "You're making me angry," she jumped and furiously said. That's when Fiona started yelling, and her feathers turned to red. The flock became silent, hoping things would get better, but Fiona got madder, and her feathers grew redder. Her friends looked at the red feathers, not knowing what to think. "Don't you think you should calm down now? Flamingos are supposed to be pink." They all rushed to hug her, and now Fiona felt bad. Her anger was fading, but now she felt sad. She whimpered and cried, "I'm all mixed up in hue." That's when Fiona started sobbing, and her feathers turned to blue. The flock watched from afar, and their concerns grew truer, but Fiona just got sadder, and her feathers grew bluer. Her friends looked at the blue feathers, not knowing what to think. "Just what kind of bird are you? Flamingos are supposed to be pink." No one can cheer her up, so instead they stayed away. That's when Fiona got lonely, and her feathers turned to gray. A young chick floated up, with a gaze so pure and true. "I hope my feathers change colors when I'm as big as you." Fiona flashed a happy smile, and her feathers erupted in color. It was a surprise to everyone. No feather was like any other. Pink, white, and green, red, blue, and gray. She was every single color now, and that's the way she'd stay. The entire flock gathered around, and Fiona gave a big wink. "I guess we've all learned a lesson here. Flamingos don't have to be pink." The end. Hi, everyone. So we finished reading our Fiona the Flamingo story. We're going to turn this into our very own art project. What we're going to do is start off by drawing a flamingo. Then we'll talk about some colors and have some fun using some new art materials to add color to our flamingos. But first, we should really take a look at what flamingos look like because they are a very unique bird, to say the least. Notice that it has a very curved neck. His legs even bend backwards. He's got a very large beak. I mean, this flamingo's pink. How many birds do you know that are pink? If I were to start drawing this flamingo, my first step would be to figure out what kind of shapes I see here. So, using a couple simple lines, I can take the idea of this head and that long curved neck and his big body. And I see a line there. I can also take a look at his legs. There's a straight line and an angular line. Do these lines look like anything to you? Over here, looks kind of like a 2. What do the legs look like? Maybe a backwards 4. So, starting off with a line, but my 4 is going the wrong way. And that looks like it might be a pretty good start to drawing our own flamingo. Let's try it. Hi everyone. So our next step in our project is to draw our own Fiona Flamingo. Keep in mind how color can affect the emotion, and that's what we want to think about with our flamingos. In your art packet, you got 2 pieces of paper and a bag of nice new construction paper crayons here. You have 16 crayons. Please make sure that you return 16 crayons. They stand out from other crayons because of that black wrapper on them. What makes them a little bit different is they show up really well on construction paper. Some crayons do a little better than others. These do particularly well. You have 2 different colors. You can choose either color to work on. These do work well on dark colors as well as light colors. I'm going to go ahead and use my yellow paper so that you can see my flamingo. And let's get started. Thinking about what we just saw in our observation of a flamingo, we saw the number 2 and the number 4 can help us draw our flamingos. So that's what I'm going to start with here on my paper, is a large 2 about the center of the page, something like that. Then I'm going to go ahead and follow that 2 with a kind of wavy line here, and do a little zigzag for the back end. Before I add my legs, my number 4, I'm going to go ahead and just finish the body of my flamingo. To do so, I can create a U right here to finish the head. And then he needs a beak. I'm going to go ahead and grab a different color. I'm going to go for some purple here. And the beak is kind of like a V. You can even make it kind of like a curvy V, something like that. And a little line for his mouth to open. For the legs of my flamingo, remember we're going to do a 4, but it's backwards. So I start off with a straight line going down, and my 4 is going to point to the right. And that's a good start of my flamingo. To get his toes, because flamingos have webbed feet, I'm going to just do 3 curved lines. And I do just a little M in between those lines like that, and I get his foot. Some of the things I can add to my picture might be some water, maybe some wavy lines here. Maybe we get some swamp grass in there. Make it different sizes. Curve it a little differently, let it overlap, make it look nice and full. Then I'm ready to start coloring. I'm going to give my flamingo a big old purple eyeball. Maybe it's got some eyelashes. I don't want to forget a wing. Color that in with that green. Now I'm trying to think about what colors and how those colors will affect the feeling of my flamingo, the feeling of my artwork. I think I want to use lots of blues and greens. What emotions did you think of for blues and greens? I still like to use a lot of color though. When I think of blues and greens, I think of kind of a calm feeling maybe. So maybe my flamingo feels very calm right now. Maybe a little bit of purple on the tail here. Or maybe my flamingo's kind of bored. Maybe those are the colors I thought of for bored. Or maybe this is just a very peaceful flamingo. I think of lots of blues, greens, violets, those cool colors. I can add a little pop of color in there, here and there, for some excitement. If I want, I can go over these lines. I want to make his legs just a little bit fatter. If I color a little lighter, I can still see those other lines there. I can feel free to add anything I'd like to the background. Remember, you can use more than one color in one spot. Get some water in there. Maybe I want to draw a sun or some clouds. Since I have a very calm flamingo color, maybe I want to make a very calm sky. Or maybe your flamingo is very excited and the sky is going to be very rainbow and exciting as well. So go ahead and work on your own flamingo. Choose the colors you think are best and think about what those colors may mean.